Hi there, and thank you for joining us on the Overcomers Overcoming podcast. We feature those who are in the process of overcoming or have overcome any type of life encounter, life obstacle that at the time seemed to be almost insurmountable. With this podcast, we have three objectives in mind. Our first objective is we want you to know with a confident resolve you are not alone. We want to work with you. We want you to know there are others who are working with you, who want to help you through whatever you are encountering, and together we will get through whatever you're experiencing.
Our second objective is there are multiple options for any life encounter you are facing. We want to help you develop a resolve that there are various options and solutions to any life dilemma.
Our third objective is to help you with critical thinking skills. If you're encountering something that was possibly a decision you made sometime in the past, and if you had the opportunity for a life redo, you would make a different decision. We want to help you with those critical thinking skills that can help you make an informed decision and not encounter what you're going through at the moment. We are the Cooper Culture, a veteran-owned business. We work with business personnel and families to develop and sustain connected relationship cultures within their families and organizations. That type organization is one where people feel wanted, appreciated, and genuinely a part of that organization. I'm with my wife and business partner, Marty, who is helping me facilitate this podcast. Today we feature Casey Kang Head, who describes for us her journey through acute lymphoblastic leukemia when she was 31 years old and diagnosed with this cancer. The cancer treatment started out being chemotherapy, then her body rejected the chemotherapy, and she was about 2.5 years of going through various treatments, and at some points during the treatment living almost hour to hour not knowing if she would ever be cancer-free. But through immunotherapy and some other treatments similar to that, she was able to overcome the cancer and today is in the total remission. It's a great story of overcoming cancer and how others can do the same. Marty, what are some takeaways our listeners can gain from Casey's testimony?
Ron, even though I wasn't able to be on the podcast, I'm reading your write-up and I'm amazed at her resilience and determination to find a cure or get through all the struggles that she has gone through. And I want to say it's like the mind and the cancer go together, and you can physically, I want to say heal yourself, but you can find ways to heal the cancer. Maybe not all cancer is healable, if that's a word, but she found a way to put her cancer in remission and has a life story and helps so many people.
Marty, it's a great story of hope to look ahead, and I do believe, and there's the statistics to prove it, that a positive mindset can significantly aid and abet and help the curing process no matter what is going wrong with you. Let's listen and learn together to a great story. Casey, it's great to have you with us. Our listeners are going to be very interested in knowing the journey you have made, are making through recovering from what I think I understand is 3 different areas, 3 times of cancer. It's very possible we have some listeners who are recently diagnosed with or possibly also going through cancer recovery, and maybe they are uncertain what the hope might be for the future. I know right now my thought goes to a person, a very close friend, wife has stomach cancer, which has metastasized to the esophagus and maybe some other places. to the point where a stomach replacement is not feasible at this point, and she's in Germany going through a treatment that is very unique, I'm learning, to Germany, not yet ascribed to or approved for through the FDA through the United States. Casey, I go through all that background to welcome you, that our listeners are going to be very interested in your recovery, your mindset, how you have gotten to where you are. Casey, it's great to have you with us.
I'm very grateful to be here with you today. So thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Talk to us about your each of the three, or if they're all basically the same. How did you handle the diagnosis when you first discovered, and then the treatment and so forth? That's a very wide, expansive question.
Yeah. Well, let's dive in. So I was 31 years old and I thought it was anything but cancer when I was diagnosed. And so I heard the words and it's almost as if my brain couldn't process that. And so there was a lot of like, that's not what he said. As I was sitting in the emergency room being transferred to another hospital to be treated. So there's a lot of like, maybe he's wrong in that initial like, that can't be right. And so, you try and deny and because you don't want the reality to actually be real. And so I remember I couldn't even tell my dad that it was cancer. Like I couldn't say the word. I couldn't even say the word. I made my husband at the time tell my dad in the ER what was happening. And so it was very surreal. And then because of I was diagnosed with acute lymphoblastic leukemia, which is technically a children's cancer. It's just really rare at 31 to be diagnosed with it. So I was transferred to a hospital downtown. I was in Chicago at the time, and part of the protocol is you're hospitalized for the first 30 days. So for treatment because you're getting such intensive chemo that it's like 4 or 5 different ones at one time. So that's when like the reality set in was like, I'm not leaving here for a while. Because I remember going as soon as I was through the ER and into a room, I go, well, when am I going to get out, right? Like, when am I going home? I'm like, I'll probably be home by the weekend. Like, no big deal. And then the reality of them telling me on Monday, like, you're you're going to be here for a while was really like, what? Um, so that was the initial diagnosis. And then you just kind of you go in this weird autopilot mode where you're just like, what do I need to do? And you just kind of take each day as it comes because you don't know what to expect. Like, how sick am I going to be? What am I going to feel? And I don't think the reality really set in of what I was going through until about 2 weeks into the hospital stay. And my hair started to finally fall out. And that's when the reality hit me. I was in the shower and I just fell to my knees as if like 2 clumps of hair were in my hands, and I just bawled. And my husband at the time like knocked on the door. He's like, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "Yes, no, like, I'm not physically, I'm like, not, nothing's going on, but like mentally and emotionally, I'm like, I'm staring at my hair and I'm in a hospital shower, and this is my reality. I'm sick." And like, that reality was just, it was really hard. And I don't know how long I cried. And I just got back up and I was like, okay. I was like, what do we need to do today? Like, it's just, you just keep going.
Let me ask you, from the very early diagnostic efforts, did you just feel something is not right, and but at the time you didn't know? And I'm asking for the person who says, yeah, I can feel something. I mean, certainly it's not cancer, but I'm not even sure how to phrase the question, Casey, but I guess I'm asking, did you go in just thinking, hey, this may be some simple diagnosis, and it came out, oh my gosh, it is?
Yeah, I honestly thought I was like iron deficient to be completely honest. Um, So so I was diagnosed on February 14th, 2014. So on Valentine's Day, but about a month and a half prior to that, it was around the holidays. I was starting to feel sick, and I felt a node on my neck, and because it was the holidays and our fiscal year end for work ends in January, there's a lot of things going on, stress and stuff, life events, and so I equated a lot of what I felt to life, right? Like I never the fatigue that I was feeling, the nodes. I was like, oh my God, I don't want to get strep, right? Like I did all these things that clearly were indicating that something's wrong with your body. I just ignored. So I went to the ENT. They gave me a 10 days of antibiotics. They said come back in 2 weeks. So by the time I stopped the antibiotics, it was a Monday. I had my appointment on Friday. That's when, because of the acute nature of it, that's when like my body really was like red flag. Something's we're not okay. I looked like I was pale as a ghost. I'd touch something and I'd have a giant bruise everywhere, all over my body. I developed petechiae, which are clusters of little red dots. Um, I was extremely tired, like to the point where like I was struggling to make it up flights of stairs, like without taking breaks. And again, didn't think anything was very severely wrong. And the last thing was blood was coming out of my nose, but not in the sense of like a nosebleed. I would blow my nose and blood would be there. And I go, oh, maybe I scratched the inside of my nose, right? Like, I don't know. I never once questioned how the severity of how sick I was until the day that I went to the doctor, and one of my coworkers was like, "Are you okay? You look hungover." And I was like, "I didn't even go out last night." I'm just really tired. I think I'm anemic or something. I'm like, "But I have my appointment and I'll be back after lunch." I didn't come back for 8 months.
Wow.
So, yeah, it was quite shocking. Like it was the last thing that I thought it would be.
Now, you are 11, a little over 11 years since your initial diagnosis. You mentioned three forms of cancer. I don't know that I'm accurate with that, but was this what were the three different, totally different forms of cancer? Was this a recurrence of the same initial, or where are we
Yeah.
with that?
Yeah, it was a recurrence. So ALL can be really aggressive, and I just happen to have a really aggressive form. So I did an 18-month protocol of chemotherapy. Um, and in between that, I also had a stroke that I was recovering from because of the chemotherapy. I know it's wild to think about it. So I 4 months into my treatment, I had a stroke because of the chemotherapy, and I hadn't reached remission yet. So I was getting chemotherapy while recovering from a stroke, learning how to use my entire left side of my body that had become partially paralyzed. Um, so I got through all of that, and I had 7 weeks of remission of like no treatment. You're in remission, and it came back, and I knew it came back, but I didn't want to actually face it again. So for about a week, I just like was like, it's fine. It'll be okay. Because I knew that the minute I went to get blood work, I would have to be back in treatment again, and I didn't want to do it. It's like a stubborn child knowing like what's about to happen. But what I didn't know what was about to happen was once I finally called my doctor and I was like, hey, I need some blood work. I know it's not when I typically get it, but I need it. And she's like, yeah, whatever you need. And she goes, I got a call back less than 3 hours later, and I knew something wasn't right because they usually, that doesn't happen very quickly. Um, she was like, it's back. And I was at work and I just went into my boss's office and crumbled to the ground. And I don't remember how I got home. I don't remember. Like I really like somebody was like, did you drive home? I'm like, I don't know. I still can't remember. Like I have to go ask my ex-husband because I have no idea. Um, and so I was immediately hospitalized again and I thought I was going into like chemotherapy again. And my oncologist actually came into my hospital room, and they don't do that unless they're the rounding doctor. and it was not her rounds. And I was like, oh boy, this is probably serious. And she goes, you're no longer responding to chemotherapy. It's not working. She goes, we have a clinical trial or an immunotherapy. And I was like, how do we get here? Like, clinical trial in my mind at that time was like, we're last case scenario, right? Like, that's not always the case with clinical trials, but that's what I was thinking. And she gave us the rundown between the two options, and she was like, what do you want to do? I was like, well, if the immunotherapy doesn't negate me from the clinical trial and I can still go on it if this doesn't work, let's do that first, right? It's less evasive, all these things. Well, it failed. It sent me into a cytokine release storm, which is when your body starts to shut down on the inside and starts to attack itself and it starts to kill you basically from the inside out. For like 3 days, I was fighting like 105, 106-degree fever. They were about to put me into the ICU. It was pretty ugly, but somehow came out of that. And so I was going on a clinical trial. I did all the testing for the clinical trial, which is exhausting. And a week before I was supposed to start, it got shut down because too many people passed away. So then we looked at my oncologist, and we were like, now what? I'm not in remission. Cancer is spreading in my body, and there's no options. And she was like, well, there's a clinical trial at another hospital. She's like, it's the only other one going on right now in the country. But she goes, but here's the thing with the clinical trial. She goes, number one, there's a wait list, and there's no like line skipping in a clinical trial. And she goes, it doesn't mean that you're going to qualify for the clinical trial. And usually they don't say that unless they know something that we don't about the study or the qualifications to get into the study. Like they're usually very optimistic about things. But it kind of read between the lines, like, I might not qualify for this. This is like really sketchy. So we're like, okay, well, what do we do? So in the meantime, to keep the cancer at bay, they gave me more chemotherapy because they're like, we don't really have anything else to give you, but we still can't keep cancer just growing in your body. Like, it's not good. So we did that for a while, and then we just waited. And I was like, there's got to be something, right? I never lost hope that there wasn't something. So eventually, a different doctor at my hospital who became my doctor came back from the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society's annual doctors conference and said, do you want to try this? And it was an immunotherapy with 2 pages of data. And the immunotherapy wasn't for my cancer. And she was like, do you want to try this? And I was like, this isn't like for my cancer. And the data and the outcomes, like, they weren't great. There's 114 participants, 11 had the disease that I had, and the outcomes were not good. I just remember going like, this is all I've got? Like, this is terrible. Like, this isn't good. And after debating with my husband for, I don't know how long, we talked about it for like a week, maybe more. I have no idea. We had to make a decision. And I said, you know what? It doesn't look like it's really great to begin with. I go, but if this helps someone else live, I go, then at least I didn't live for nothing. And that's like really what it was for. It was like, it might actually help someone, even if it doesn't help me. And knowing like it just might make me, I might die sooner, and that's it. So we said yes to that. And to be honest, like, it wasn't even approved by the FDA. And they're like, well, we have to write a letter of compassion to the FDA, to the drug manufacturer, to get access to it. And we went down that path. So for about 2 months, we just sat and waited and crossed our fingers that we would get approved. And, you know, it's a very surreal moment to like live your life, but know like these might be the last moments of my life, and trying to pretend like it wasn't, and having really hard conversations with people that, you know, at the time I was 30, I just turned, I think 32, 33, with like my dad and friends of like, I might not be here, you know. It's like, it was a weird time, and really hard conversations were had, and I'm glad I had them because now people know in my life like how much they mean to me. And
Let me interject here. Gosh, Casey, I'm totally intrigued by everything you're saying. You said at one point, you never gave up hope, but yet it sounds as if you maybe had to battle the mindset of, man, I'm. It's almost like I'm 1 hour at a time because I don't know. But you never gave up hope, and so I just so much applaud that with your mindset. Somehow, some way, somewhere, somebody, but for a period of time, I'm living like 1 hour at a time, stroke in now. From the very positive viewpoint, Casey, gosh, you have a radiant smile. You've got hair. You've got a very great disposition and so forth. When did it all start to become, I'm going to use the term, a reality that, wow, maybe I'm not 1 hour at a time. I've got hope for a greater future.
I would say when we were waiting for the drug, I just like there was and I've talked to many people who've been in my position before. There's like this deep knowing inside of your bones. Like it's something I can't explain. It's just a feeling where I was like I know I'm going to die at some point, but it's not going to be from this. And there's no physical medical evidence to prove my point at that time, right? This immunotherapy wasn't for my cancer. There was no other options. Like I was headed towards death rather than living. And yet something inside of me just knew I wasn't going to die. And I cannot explain that feeling to anyone who hasn't felt it themselves. And it was like, there's got to be something. There's going to be something. So I just need to keep myself physically and mentally in a place to keep fighting and endure whatever I have to endure to get there. And that was it. It was like hyper focused on like physically taking care of myself, making sure I'm walking or exercising as much as I can despite the pain. Making sure that like I'm nourishing my body with appropriate food, making sure like my mind is like so focused on like what I can do versus like all the things I couldn't do, right? Like I missed out on like, I don't know, 10 friends' weddings and babies and things. But I couldn't focus on that. I just had to like, what do I need to do to get through today, to get through tomorrow, to put myself in a position to keep going? Because early on, I just had this remembrance of going like, most people don't die from from cancer itself. It's the treatment that kills them, right? It's so aggressive on the body. It's like it's very toxic. So I was like, okay, I just have to like endure the treatment. So if I can put my body in a physical space to do that, and my mindset is there, like, okay, I can do that. I can control that to a certain degree. And so that's what I did. And it sounds like kind of a little bit like crazy, but you have to like it was an extreme circumstance.
And Casey, I have spoken with medical personnel, and for the medical personnel listening right now, I don't in any way want to try to project myself as knowing anything about this, but are you are you supposing, I'm listening to what you're saying, that I'm going to use the word immunotherapy, and I don't know that that would be the correct assessment, but you took on a very positive outlook in life. Somehow, some way, I'm going to overtake this and so forth. In hindsight, even maybe some medical people wouldn't even be able to explain it, but is it possible that your positive attitude produced something in the body that fought the cancer and helped you through all this? And again, I want to offer an apology to any of medical people that I am not trying to discredit anyone in the medical field, but yet I'm a believer in homeopathic medicines and so forth. And oh wow, Casey, can you help me with this?
Yeah, I can. So I believe in science. I believe in medicine, and I believe like these treatments that are somewhat toxic to us are meant to help us. I totally believe in that in science. But I also believe that there's something bigger than science and the medical community that you cannot explain. And I don't know what it is essentially. So like if it is a positive attitude or it's mindset, because there's so much linked to like brain body and Harvard's been studying it for years, and there's so much research and data coming out on like how your thoughts affect your physical being and all these things, right? So I do believe there's something greater than what science can tell us right now. What that is, I don't know, but I do believe if you the minute people lose hope is like the minute they like start to, degrade and go down. And I think if you can just hold on to it as much or as hard as you can, like it's gonna serve you for a very, very long time.
All right, now, are you medically in total remission?
I am, and I've been going on 8 years now.
Oh, wow. Now, 8 years now. Okay, so you were what, three and a half or so years into the cancer treatment before maybe even you had some kind of hope that, man, if I'm and now my thoughts are in the bell curve kind of thing, that going up, well, man, I don't know, I'm only living an hour at a time. But when you're on the downside of the bell curve, oh my gosh, no, I think I'm going to, the week turns into a month, turns into, no, I've got this, I've got this kicked, so to speak. Were you 3.5 years or so into it before you felt like, nope, I have overcome all this?
No, honestly, like I when after the third time going through it, my doctors didn't help either, because I was going quite regularly to the doctor after we got approved for an immunotherapy that wasn't for my cancer. Um, they didn't really know what to expect, and so that's what actually got me into remission the third time after a stem cell transplant for my brother, which was supposed to work and it didn't. So we had to do more immunotherapy to get me back into remission to go to another stem cell transplant, but we didn't have to do that. The immunotherapy got me into remission, and my doctors at the time just said, "We're going to wait and see what happens," which is like the worst thing you can tell someone who is going through cancer. We're going to wait and see what happens, right? Like, but I was like, okay, that's the game plan. Like, we're just going to wait. And I think they wanted to see if if I would continue to stay in remission. I don't know what they really wanted, or if I had to do another stem cell transplant. And because I was still recovering from the first one, and it's so hard on the body. I was not in a physical condition, very good physical condition to like go through that again, at that moment. And so we waited. And so for about 6 months, I went back to the doctor every week. And literally every week, as I left the doctor's room, my oncologist would put her hand on my shoulder and she goes, "Baby girl," in her thick Russian accent, "we're just lucky you're alive." And I'm just sitting there going like, please stop saying that, because like that's not helping. So I literally for that time, for about almost a year, lived every day going, am I gonna die today? Is today they're gonna call me and tell me my blood work came back and I've cancer's back, right? Like every single day, that's what I thought. And so although I was in remission and I was technically okay, I was anything but okay. Um, I was still getting blood and platelets. I was still getting medical transfusions for a long time, for about probably like 6 to 8 months. Still, I was getting like magnesium and all these things that my body was completely depleted of. So it took a long time for me to finally go, am I okay? And I finally asked like my doctors at one point, I was like, can I go back and like start to live life? And they're like, sure, why not? And I was like, I don't know, because like you guys keep telling me that I'm lucky to be alive, right? Like this is insane. Um, So I was like, okay, well, like, how do I go do that? Like, how do I go live life? Because, like, for the last like 4 years, basically, I'm like, been a patient and a cancer, and just everything's cancer. And so they're like, I don't know, eat right and exercise, which is literally what they told me. And I was like, I think there's something more to that. I don't think that's just that's it. And so that's really when the reality started to hit of like, okay, now we're on like almost year 5, and we have to put the pieces of this life back together somehow. Like, what? So I just have to like go back to normal, like nothing happened. And that's where it became really hard for me personally. I struggled with surviving.
Now, I want to try to ask you to take on the mindset of the person who's listening right now, who
Hmm.
just got the diagnosis, and wow, that, and they may be thinking something to the effect, I just don't know. I don't know how to handle this. And my world has stopped, so to speak. I'm shattered emotionally and so forth. How would you coach? How would you help that person say something to the effect, Casey? Yep, just, I don't know, it almost sounds callous to ride it out. That's a terrible term, but you will make it. And so, how do you give that person hope and stay away from glowing generalities type thing? Again, I'm not even sure how to phrase my question.
Yeah, to acknowledge the reality, but stay away from toxic positivity.
There you go. You're right on.
100%. Because a lot of people like to Pollyanna the situation, like, oh, it's fine. Like, but the reality is when you get diagnosed, it's not fine, and you feel anything but fine. Your world just got blew up, basically. Um, I would probably say first, let's take a deep breath. And I'd say, you're stronger than you think you are. You're going to get through this. By all means, you're going to get through this. It might not be okay in this moment, but it's going to be okay. And you're stronger than you think you are. And just take each day as it comes and stay off Google. And that's it. Because Google, helpful, not helpful. But the reality is, like, everyone is stronger than they think they are. Because in that moment, you feel anything but. You're like, you question, how am I going to get through this? The
And with
reality is,
that, you're stronger than you might think you are. But Casey, would it be a point of reality? You may have to keep this very positive mental mindset for, gosh, who knows, 1, 2 years, something like that, until you're on the recovery side. Is that a realistic thought?
yeah, it's accurate. I think the average treatment is about 2 years. All again depends on the cancer,
Right.
depends on the protocol that you're on, the staging, all of those things are factors in it. But it's a long haul journey. I've always said it's a marathon, it's not a sprint. And so the cheerleaders that you have all want to rah rah in the very beginning, but the reality is like we need to like slow and steady wins the race, right? Like this isn't we're not going to be over it in a week or a month, but we can maintain some level of positivity throughout it if we put ourselves in that mindset. And it is really hard. It's really challenging, and to have to get through it, you have to know that there's a bigger reason why, right? Like
Now, for the caretaker, caregiver who cares deeply about you, did you have a large circle of friends? Was it one or two? And what I'm building up to, Casey, is it helpful to just initiate, hello, Casey, how are you doing? Just thinking about you.
Yeah, honestly, like it takes a village. My dad, my husband at the time, my mother-in-law, my sister-in-law, my my family pitched in, friends pitched in. Like it took a village, right? Like it's everyone needs a village with them. just for even logistics purposes, like how do I get to and from appointments, and just those little things that like matter more than you think, right? Like rides to and from the hospital. Sometimes like, although you can drive home, quote unquote, it's not always best to drive home, right? You're like on a lot of drugs, and you might want to, have someone there that can drive you because it's just easier. It makes your life easier. You don't always want to cook, but maybe like, just having someone support your family by bringing over meals. And I think the hardest part with caregivers is like they don't really know how to help. So we as the patient have to kind of like advocate for what we need. Like, no, I don't need this, but I need this. No, I don't need this, but I need this. And I think being really clear about that is helpful, versus like someone trying to guess what you need, right? Like in the beginning, it's a learning curve because I didn't know that in the beginning. I was just like, I don't know what I need, because you don't. But then you learn, you're like, okay, I need you to like just give me space. Please do not like, I don't need you to come over every day. Like, I'm good. Hey, Betty Sue down there, like I need you to do my laundry. Like my dad is great. And so, but he's not great with emotions. He's great with tasks. I know this about my dad. So I was like, Dad, if you can do my laundry every week, that would be great. That'd be help out like and he did my laundry every week for me because that's how he could help. And like, it takes the load off of me. It takes the load off of my partner, like all those little things. So I just like started assigning people things to do, because like people want to help, but they don't know how. And then they feel helpless, like they can't do anything. And you guys want to help? I'm going to give you something to do.
Now, I want to ask you what may be too personal, but you mentioned, I think pretty much verbatim, your husband at the time. Did you have to experience something traumatic regarding your husband during this time?
So I say at the time, we're divorced now. We couldn't make it work afterward. There were a lot of other factors besides cancer, that went into effect. But 8 months into my treatment, his dad passed away. And so there was a lot of things that were going on at the time. So like I had a stroke 4 months in, then 4 months later, his dad passes away. There was a lot of things that he wasn't dealing with at the time because we didn't have the capacity to do that. And I think it all caught up with him, and he wasn't in a good place, and we're friendly, we're friends. I wish him nothing but the best always. He, during my journey, stepped up above and beyond what you would expect any human to do, any human. And so I thank him for that always.
No, Casey, I appreciate, and I know the potential extreme sensitivity of what I just asked you, but I appreciate your candor in that. Casey, I sincerely appreciate on behalf of our listeners what you have been through, the help you are to others, and not only the help, but the hope you are to others, that in spite of the terrible diagnosis, many people can overcome. You have. And we certainly hope that everything will continue to be as helpful and as good as life seems to be right now. Casey, thank you so much for sharing.
No, thank you for allowing me to share. I appreciate it. And I just want to say, anybody that's going through it, it's not over until it's over. Just keep going. Like, you never know what's going to be the thing that gets you over to the other side. And that's timing is everything, right? Like it doesn't make sense sometimes.
And I think implicitly your message also is stay with or have those circle of friends who will stay with you and provide the support. But I think you're saying also do learn how to ask for help.
Oh, 100%. Oh, yeah. You can't get through this alone.
That's great. Casey, thank you so much for sharing. You've got a great life, and we look forward to following your life.
Oh, thank you so much.
We appreciate having the opportunity to share our and our guests' life experiences with you.
The Cooper culture advances organizations to achieve and sustain high retention rates, connected communication, and trust through personality insights and principled leadership. You can contact us at our website, thecooperculture.com, and you can contact us directly at ron@thecooperculture.com or Marty, M-A-R-T-Y, at thecooperculture.com. We work with you to help assess aspects of your culture to advance the environment and people to their best performance. We do that through our staff of certified personal performance coaches, leadership trainers, keynote speakers, and disc personality behavior experts. You can book a speaking engagement directly through our website by contacting us at ron@thecooperculture.com. We look forward to sharing our life experiences with you, some of which are profound, some of which are pretty funny. Some of those life experiences are ones we'll never do that again because we've been through stuff. We truly look forward to working with you, speaking with you, helping advance you in any way that we can.